Ag Matters is underwritten by AgWest Farm Credit. AgWest Farm Credit is a financial cooperative that provides financing, crop insurance, and related services to farmers and ranchers across the West. From small family businesses to large operations, AgWest brings the experience and financial know-how to help you grow your best future.
Welcome to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska on Big Cabbage Radio.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Ag Matters. I'm your host, Ken Hoffman. I'm a farmer out here in Palmer. My farm's name is Matsu Microgreens, where we grow gourmet vegetables and microgreens year-round. We sell them throughout the state. I'm also the executive director of the Alaska Farm Bureau. It's a large nonprofit organization where all of us farmers get together, network, share ideas, and advocate for each other. If you're interested in learning about the Farm Bureau or just commercial farming in Alaska and how to get started, you should visit our website at alaskafb.org and we'll get you plugged in. All right, I have a special friend calling in today. A lot of our listeners probably already know her, Tandy Hoagate over at Common Ground Alaska. Hi, Tandy. How are you?
Hey, Ken. I'm so glad to be here. I've got Jean here with me, too, so you can even ask technical questions.
Awesome. All right. Yes. So today's episode, we want to talk about Propagation, your guys' new license or whatever it is. I saw it on Facebook that you guys are able to propagate honeyberries and cherries or something like that. You guys, if you guys could explain it to us, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. So first of all, we own Common Ground Alaska. We're a U-Pick farm and nursery. We're based in Big Lake. And we started out just, planting a few apple trees and then Jean said, well, we could sell some apple trees too. And then we started bringing in honeyberries, different plants. And so we started selling, we'd order a few extra and sell what we had that was extra. And then it's kind of grown from there. And 2 years ago? I'm going to say 2 years ago, the University of Saskatchewan reached out to us and asked if we would be interested in propagating plants in Alaska because these plants come out of Canada. And so we have the challenges of shipping, and then we also have the challenges of getting them through the border. And, when you're dealing with live plants, you want quick and you want things to just get from point A to point B without any issues. And so between the problem, not really problems, but just challenges with customs and then the timeline of shipping, they really thought that they could serve Alaskans better by having someone actually propagating their plants in Alaska. So that's kind of how that all started. And of course, we were very excited to be asked. And so they hooked us up with a company, Floramax, who is one of their licensed propagators. Ours is actually a sub-license underneath Floramax. So that's who we just worked directly with them. They sent us some mother plants. So now we have like a stock nursery that we use to propagate from. And yeah, we're kind of off to the races. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Awesome. So a license, what does that mean necessarily? Are you saying that, a honeyberry farmer can't just go out there and cut a twig and propagate on their own, that they have to be licensed by a university?
So glad you asked that question. I don't know if you saw some of the comments. People said some pretty mean things about it. So I love just kind of taking care of the myth and just putting the truth out there. So here's what happened. The University of Saskatchewan knew that there was a need. They saw honeyberries were kind of gaining in popularity, and so they knew that there was a need for cold hardy, good tasting honeyberry. So basically, honeyberries grow in Russia, but they're not very sweet. They're not super palatable, especially for the American palate who likes kind of a sweeter berry. At the same time, there is a plant called a haskap that's grown in Japan, and it's the same. I'm not the scientist, but it's from the same family. Is that right? Mm. So they took the two and said, if we can take the flavor from a haskap and the cold hardiness from a honeyberry and somehow hybridize those, they're not genetically modifying, they're hybridizing them and make a super sweet, cold, hardy honeyberry. So that's what they did. So because of that, they hold the patent on those for, it's a long time, like 30 years. We don't make the rules, and so don't come at us because the plant is patented. So basically, what a person, if they wanted to propagate their own and plant them in their own yard, that's not illegal. But if you want to sell them, you do need to have a license from the folks who own the patent. And having a patent on it, like I said, I think it's 30 years. So during that time, you would would need to buy from a licensed propagator. So, and it's the same thing with cherries. They did the same thing. Cherries can be really tough to grow up here, especially cherry trees. So they developed a bush cherry that is much, much, much hardier. And so it's the same thing with those. They are also under patent. And so we also have the license to propagate those as well.
Okay, so you have the license for those two different crops, the honeyberries and then the sour cherries?
Yeah, bush cherries. Yeah,
Bush
sour
cherries.
bush cherries.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So some of our listeners may not even know what a honeyberry is. And in fact, it's interesting that you brought up honeyberry and Haskell because a lot of people go back and forth on what the name is. They use it interchangeably.
Right.
Could you guys describe to us what a honeyberry even looks like, the bush habit, difference between honeyberry and Haskell? Just give us a little lesson on that.
Sure. So a honeyberry bush is probably 5 feet tall, maybe 6 feet tall. Some of them are up to 8 feet. Oh, yeah, some of them are pretty tall. And they're a berry that is blue. I don't want to say a blueberry because they don't look anything like a blueberry. Most of them are oblong in shape. Some of them are a little rounder, but they're way bigger than a blueberry. They kind of go between sweet and tart. If you pick them too early, they are definitely on the tart, make your eyes water tart. But once you wait till they're fully ripe, then they're nice and sweet. They're super, super cold hardy. So one of the things that we love about honeyberries is that so far, we've been growing them for probably 12 years, and we haven't had a single winter where we've had really any significant dieback or winter kill, anything like that, whereas apples and most everything else, sometimes, depending on, there's just some conditions that are tough, and so we'll deal with some dieback, but just not with honeyberries at all. They're just really cold hardy, and they produce like crazy. And so I think that's one of the things I love about them, and I get excited when people buy them from the nursery, especially because I know they're going to be successful. And, some plants you buy and you think, well, I don't know how this is going to do here, but we're going to try it. And honeyberries are the opposite. They're just like, put them in the ground, they're going to produce. I just love them.
Yeah, and you guys produce them commercially as well, right?
We do. We have about 1,500 plants, yeah.
1,500 plants. Okay, and so do you guys call them honeyberries or do you call them Haskell?
It depends on who we're talking to because some people are very purist about it. So if we have a customer who insists on calling them ASCAP, it doesn't matter because they're a mix of the two, so both are right.
Okay. All right, now describe to us the bush cherries or sour cherries from the university.
Okay, so those are kind of fun because what I think probably from UPIC or even from a consumer standpoint, bush cherries are awesome because instead of being on a tree where you have to climb and get to them, you just pick at, it's just a bush. So they get about 6 or 8 feet tall and you can just pick without a ladder. They're just right at the perfect height. So that's probably my favorite thing about them. And then when you need to net them, of course, for the birds, they're much, much lower. So you're not having to net entire trees. So that's nice. They're definitely on the tart side. Some of them are maybe normal. They're not quite as big as a sweet cherry, but they are pretty good size. Some of them are a little on the smaller side, but they make excellent, tart cherry juice. They make excellent pies. We use them. I feel like we use them in a lot of things. You can even put them in a muffin or something like that, but you're just going to want to make sure that you've sweetened either, put them in sugar first so they're a little sweeter or just sweeten up your muffin a little bit. They're just really good. And they have that good cherry flavor. So they flavor anything up really well.
Wow. Well, what about other fruit that you guys produce? I'm assuming that your nursery isn't just selling the two different honeyberries and the bush cherries. What other fruit crops do you sell at your nursery that you think are just amazing for Alaskan gardeners to plant in their yards?
One of them that I feel like is kind of a hidden gem is currants. And I feel like currants are kind of taken for granted. And I think part of the problem is people don't know what to do with them. And so, we're working hard on the education side on what do you do with them because they're such a great little berry. And they are another one that's so hardy to our state. And I would just rather grow something that I know is going to come back every year than something I'm going to have to fight and wonder and hope that, winter doesn't do this, that, or whatever. So currants, I would say, are a big one. We do sell currants, both red and black currants. And we also have apples are kind of our big one. So Gene is a genius at grafting, and he's also a humble guy, so he rolls his eyes when I say that. He just loves to graft apple trees. So we graft a couple hundred apple trees and sell them, but we take scion wood. Usually, I think everything is from the farm, so it's suited for Alaska. We know it's healthy trees, and he grafts, and we don't even grow, let alone graft things like a Honeycrisp or something, because they really aren't made for Alaska, and they're going to have a hard time ripening. They might survive, but they're going to have a hard time ripening. So we really specialize in apples that are going to do well here. And we graft them one spring, and we don't sell them till the following spring. So they're year-old trees, and we just make sure that they can make it through that first winter, that there's no issues. We grow them out all summer long. And then basically we open up Mother's Day weekend. We open up Mother's Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we pretty much sell out of apple trees that weekend. So that's kind of a big thing to remember. If you want one of our apple trees, you got to be quick.
And plum trees.
And plums, yep. He started doing plums, and oh my goodness, we have a Dave's yellow plum that's like a little, I don't like plums from the store because they're always super tart at the pit, and then the skin's always tart, so I just don't care for them, but these are little sugar bombs. They are good inside and out. They're so yummy.
I'm curious about that. So plums, you guys are growing plum trees out there as well that are hardy enough to survive the winters?
Yep, we have 5 different varieties, but the Dave's Yellow is kind of my favorite. So.
And you sell them at your nursery?
We sell them at the nursery, and again, they go really fast, so it's kind of a Mother's Day weekend thing. But yes, we sell them at the nursery, and then we also we haven't done plums for you pick yet because we haven't had quite enough production for people to come pick them, and I like to eat them.
Well, I'm going to have to come out there in the springtime because I've been trying to grow plum trees in Palmer for years, and they always die to winter kill.
Well, Gene's the one to talk to you about that. He's good at that.
Okay.
We also do sea berries and blueberries and raspberries. The sea berries we're growing and propagating here too. The blueberries and strawberries and raspberries we actually have brought in every year, but we've been doing that for years, and they're proven for Alaska too. So, and we actually have a pre-sale going on right now on commongroundalaska.com. You can actually pre-purchase your plants. And so what happens is we already have them here, we're growing them out, and then Mother's Day weekend you can come pick them up, but they're, ready to go, and that makes it so that you're not having to search for plants at the end of in that crazy spring season. We just have them ready, and then you can call us anytime with questions. It has a planting guide. We just try to serve everybody the best we can.
Wow, I love it. Thank you so much for talking about the fruit. I would like to talk about a couple other projects that you're working on because you're a busy lady, busy farmer, and the 2 projects I'm curious about is the magazine and then the Homestead Expo.
Okay, well, I would love to talk with you about both of those. So we do produce a magazine that is, it's kind of my passion project. It's produced by Alaskans 100%. So every article that you're going to read is going to be somebody who this week went out to do something at 23 below, and which I just think there's so much value to that. It's fun to read what other people are doing, but the truth is what actually works where we're at. So that's what I love. It's called Sustainable Alaska. You can find it on our website, commongroundalaska.com. It's quarterly, and it's $60 a year, or you can just get a single edition for $17. And basically, it's just all about living close to the land here. And again, it's written by people who are actually doing it. That's the magazine. And then we have the Alaska Homestead Expo coming up in May. It's Memorial Weekend, turns out. So it's 4 days instead of 3, which is kind of fun. We have a bonus day. We have Josh and Carolyn Thomas from Homesteading Family and School of Traditional Skills. They're coming up there, our keynotes. We have Doc Jones. He is an herbalist and herbal veterinarian. He's coming up. And then, but kind of the majority of what we feature, and of course, David Stelzer from Azure Standard is coming up, but we feature local folks. A lot of what you're going to learn at the expo is, we have a whole entire program that's on growing on a small acreage, being self-sufficient on small acreage. So it's taking your half acre or 1 acre and how can you possibly maximize that? So we have multiple classes on that, on different aspects of that. We are going to slaughter a cow and show all of that whole process and how to get it, take it from the field to your freezer. We're going to do chickens. I think we're going to do a goat. I don't know what all his plans are for that. So you can see that process. We'll talk about making your own chicken feed. There's so much. I can't even come close to talk. So it's 4 days. There's 6 classes every hour for 4 days, and a massive marketplace where you get to see what actually going to help you with this homestead lifestyle in Alaska.
Amazing. And where is it going to be this year?
This year it's in Big Lake at the Lions Club. So we've rented a whole bunch of tents and made it, it's bigger and better every year. We really enjoy the expo. It's a huge undertaking. Boy, is it cool bringing that community together and
For sure.
and learning from this incredibly smart people.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Tandy, for taking the time to talk to us and tell us about your fruit orchard, the nursery, the magazine, the expo. Are there any final things you'd like to let our listeners know about you?
I don't think so, other than just if you're interested in pre-ordering plants. I failed to mention that we don't do pre-orders for the apples and plums. So you do have to just come out to the farm on Mother's Day weekend for those. But everything else is available on a pre-sale. For people who buy on the pre-sale, it's a couple dollars cheaper per plant. And we have bundles, so we've kind of put the thought into what does it take to make a little self-sufficient fruit orchard. You can just buy a bundle, plant them, you're good to go. So that's about all. I just am so grateful for the farming and ag community in Alaska, and we're just having a good time, and we are so glad to be part of it.
For sure. It's a great community to be a part of, really inviting, a lot of fun to be a part, to network, and it's just fascinating, endlessly fascinating. So thank you, Tandy, for leading the charge. You're one of the pillars of Alaska ag, and so we really appreciate everything you do and what you do for farmers.
Well, we're happy to do it. We're glad to be here. Thank you so much, Ken. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to the show, listening to Ag Matters, and I'm your host, Ken Hoffman. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska on Big Cabbage Radio. Ag Matters is a production of Radio Free Palmer, recorded at our studios in Palmer, Alaska. For more information about this program, email manager@radiofreepalmer.org.